Nice sunny day. Good day to take a look at this line on the tank. The suction line going to the pump. So this is the outlet at the bottom of the tank. And it's a ridged line, goes back there to a 90-degree elbow. And then goes to this flex line right here. And you can see it comes in, and right here it flattens out. So it's crushed down right there. Then comes down here and you get another flattened out crushed area right there. So you can see this is round right here where my fingers are, and now this is flattened out. And then when it comes up here and it makes this turn right here, it's a little bit flat here. But this is these two right here are the main restrictions, this one and this one. And then it turns back over here and it goes up there, and then ends up going to a rigid line right here into the pump. Now, the trick is going to be getting that line off, and I can see it hooks onto this rigid line or a nipple right before the 90. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take this front grill off. I'm hoping that just taking these bolts off will take the whole front grill off and give me enough room to get a wrench in there and undo that line. But I think the start is I should get the loader fully extended up in the air. It's really nice and warm and sunny right now. It's probably about 60 degrees, so at least. So I'm curious to see whether or not we could start this without the preheater. Yep. Alright, that's certainly going to make getting this grill off easier. It looks like the hood's not even attached to the grill any longer. It looks like it doesn't attach to the grill anyways. Looks like it attaches to this part here, which I plan on leaving behind. So I think if we just take these two bolts off of this side and the matching ones on the other side, I think that whole grill comes off. Well, the bottom one's apparently threaded into frame rail or something because they came out pretty easily, and the top ones just keep turning, which means there's probably a nut on the other side. And I can't get a wrench on there because the radiator's in the way on this side. So it looks like I've got to take this part of the grill off, these screws right here hopefully, and then I can get a wrench in there and hold these. Just noticed another little interesting thing. When I pulled the bottom of the grill away, there's some paint peeling right here, and we got more green paint showing underneath here. So more indications that this was a originally a green tractor. It's funny, I look at it now and I see this is like a yellow paint. It's fading and coming off. There's another coat of yellow paint underneath that here. And then there's this red, almost like primer coat. You can see that on the frame for the loader over here. So it's kind of a little bit of a history of the paint job on this thing. This red primer and then green. Looks like the green's underneath that. Well, 3 out of the 4 screws came out no problem. The fourth one's giving me trouble. It started coming out and then it started binding up. So what I think I'm going to need to do on that one is get some PB Blaster in there. Huh. Well, that only took off that shell on the outside. The screen's still in the way. So I still can't get to the back of this. So it looks like I gotta take these small screws out. Let's see if those come out with any problem. Well, fortunately those screws came out easy. They're just little sheet metal screws. Ah, okay. Yeah, there it is. There's the nut I need to hold to keep from spinning. I could actually already see my fitting right here, but I'm going to want to be able to use the wrench from the side here, so I want this out of the way. There it is. Put that on. Fitting here, which looks like two identical things, one on top of the other. thinking about how I'm going to attack this. I mean, it's obvious I'm going to have to drain the reservoir. But I'm thinking even if I can get this end off, how am I going to get that end off? I was just looking and there's no room to get a wrench in there from the bottom. Yeah, I really don't like this at all. This is making me wonder whether or not somebody hadn't thought about changing this previously and just saw what kind of a bear it's going to be and gave up. Might not look like it from the film here that I'm shooting from the camera angle, but there's really like no room in there for my pipe wrench. I might be able to get an open end wrench in there, but I don't own one that big for one thing. I wonder if I could cut this line right here and splice in a new piece of hose from here over to, say, somewhere over here. Thinking, Steve, that's a hydraulic line. How the heck are you going to do that without having the thing blow out? But this is a suction line. So I think the only pressure that's on this line is the pressure exerted by the weight of the hydraulic fluid here in the tank when the system's not running. And when it is running, this line's actually under vacuum. Because that would be a lot easier to do. I wouldn't have to deal with these fittings up here, which is scaring me. And that fitting over there, which almost seems like an impossibility to me. I just got back from my local Parker hydraulic distributor, and they showed me a double female barbed fitting I can use to splice this kind of line so I can do what I want to do on this thing. But I still got to remove or cut out the bad section of line, and that's going to involve draining the tank. So I'm going to drain the reservoir. I've got the reservoir drained, so I decided I wanted to undo this line. The only one that's turning is this one, unscrewing from the elbow. But none of these are swiveling, so the whole hose is trying to twist as I turn it. One of those should be a swivel type, so that, for obvious reasons, so that you can actually unscrew this without having the hose twist. So maybe this is just stuck, so I'm going to go get another wrench and put it on here. Huh, I moved this thing right here. It's really loose right where it goes into the pump there, and this looks like it's been leaking a little bit, so I'm going to have to probably address that issue while I've got this apart. Let's see if I can see. Get some of this crud off of there. Yeah, that's really loose where that nipple threads into the pump. That's not good. Yeah, it wouldn't swivel at all, so I don't know if that's not a swivel fitting or if it's just seized up. So I had to just keep turning it and twisted that hose like crazy. So now it's like a wound up rubber band that wants to snap back on me. I gotta get my wrenches out of there. Now I gotta look at how loose this was. That's how loose this fitting was where it screws into the pump. You can imagine this is on the suction side of the pump. If it's that loose, not only would it leak fluid when it's resting, which would explain why this is all wet in this area, but also that would cause it to suck air there when it's trying to pump, which would increase the cavitation. I had to slowly, one wrench move at a time, let it unwind itself, and then finally it just popped off and unspun like a rubber band. And I tried to take this fitting off, and of course, no, that'd be too easy. Hits the frame. So that's going to be another adventure to change that. Now, with this hose unhooked, I should be able to pull this hose back out that way. Well, I'm out of time today, but I think the next move is going to be to grab my Sawzall, and from down below I think I'll be able to snake the blade up in there and cut that hose off. And the plan is I'm going to cut it right behind that last kink near the frame and leave just enough hose to splice onto my my replacement hose. I figure that'll hopefully work. After I cut it, I'll see if I can get a wrench in there and actually unscrew the whole fitting, but I have my doubts. The other thing I figure I can do is if I take these 4 big bolts out right here that hold this bracket and the front pump in place, I should be able to pry up on the pump just enough. Should be just enough clearance there with those universal joints for me to be able to unscrew this from the pump, clean it up, and put some thread sealant on it and tighten it back up.